This year is the centenary of the 1926 general strike, one of the most significant events in Britain's trade union history.
So this is the new banner that I made for the centenary of the general strike. It's commissioned by the Oxford Trades Council. So it features the people that had to do the general strike in Oxford. So the builders were out on strike, railway workers, and printers, the printers from Oxford University Press. And then the people who came to talk in Oxford. So we've got Oliver Baldwin, who was the son of the Prime Minister at the time, but was pro-strike. We've got Ellen Wilkinson MP. She came to Oxford to speak. Margaret Cole, Margaret Cole was an activist and part of the Oxford University Labour Club. She came to talk. And then the miners' leader, Arthur Cook, he came to, and we think he spoke at the Corn Exchange, which is now the old fire station. So we've got those on there, and then the union badges, and then the slogan "Solidarity Forever," so we never forget the work they did. With Trades Council people to discuss what was going on the banner, and we together came up with the design and how we would place them. So the pictures that are black and white, they're actually painted, but using old photographs. So we looked at old photographs from the time, and this one here of the of the station was actually there were no trains running at all, and all the goods were stacking up. So you could see on this side all the goods stacking up, and then the empty railway lines as well. And then the OUP building, which I had to find an old photograph from around the time, and of course all the buildings were black then because of the soot and everything. So I found a little film they'd made from 1925 explaining about what happened there. And by looking at that, I managed to work out how to put on the picture of it looking as it did then, rather than now. This is from a photograph of Oliver Baldwin talking at St Giles to a really large crowd, and his father was Stanley Baldwin, the Prime Minister of the time. So they obviously didn't see eye to eye on what should happen about the strike. So the other picture we put on was the Miners' Distress Fund. Obviously Oxford were involved in collecting for the Miners' Distress Fund because it was the miners whose battle started this whole strike. You know, they were told they had to work more hours for less pay, and that's when it all started, and the others came out in solidarity. So that's explains these, and then these were painted from photographs of them round about that time, not necessarily in Oxford, but so the backgrounds are just really to give it a bit of more colour and interest. The first time it's out on a march, and appropriately for May Day we managed to get it finished in time, so yeah, looking forward to walking through the streets of Oxford with our new banner.
So this is the Oxford District Trade Union Council banner. We're gathering today for our annual May Day march into the centre of town for solidarity and representing the International Workers' Day, and also campaigns that are going on and any other industrial action that comrades may be taking.
My name's Alan Hughes. I'm a retired graphic designer. I was approached for the Trades Council to design the posters and the leaflets for the march. My mum was born in 1926. She would have been 100 this year. I just think it's important to commemorate the struggle.
My name is Jabu Nala Hartley. I am here to celebrate May Day, but my background, I come from a trade unionist background where my mom was the first General Secretary of MAU, a trade union in South Africa. It's really, really important to support these marches because they are like a revival. They show us what former struggles, where workers have come from, what they have fought for over the years. The general strike changed so many conditions for workers. We have to keep supporting trade unions. We have to be part of the struggle.
We're Dig Cut Red Kites, we're here to sing. And we're here because we're celebrating International Workers' Day. It's about internationalism, it's about solidarity with people all over the world. We're also here to celebrate the new banner of the Trades Council, so we're looking forward to marching behind that today.
Bound together through the land, keep the spirit, keep the way. Brother, sister, make a stand. Unity will win the day. Raise your banners high, strength to strength and line by line. Unity will never die. Raise your banners high.
Here to stay, here to fight, workers of the world unite. Here to stay, here to fight, workers of the world unite.
We're on the annual Oxford Trades Council Workers' International Day March and Rally. But this year, of course, it's special because it's the centenary of the general strike, when initially 1.5 million people came out in solidarity with 1 million locked out miners who were threatened with job cuts and pay cuts and longer hours. And Oxford did its part. The Oxford University press, printers and paper makers were out solid. The railway stations, 2 of them, were completely closed down. And the Council of Action controlled completely the flow of goods in and out of Oxford. However, the car factories were not yet unionised. They were not unionised until 1934, when the T&G won recognition at the press steel plant. We're going to be hearing speakers, including the General Secretary of the Fire Brigades Union, Steve Wright. We'll be having messages from the Palestinian Workers' Rights Organisation and various other organisations, including, I believe, the Communication Workers Union and the new Oxford Renters Organisation.
1, 2, 3, stop the bombing now, 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 now. We are the people. We won't be silent. Stop the bombing now.
Today is International Workers' Day, and we are marching to protect our rights and freedoms that are currently under attack by this government.
Here we are in Bonn Square to celebrate May Day, also known as International Workers' Day, where we celebrate the values that bring us together as trade unionists. And here in the UK, it can't be more important than for us to gather to build a message of peace, unity and solidarity. And to mark the event, we've commissioned a specially made banner to commemorate the 1926 general strike and events in Oxford. First of all, I'm going to hand over to Bill McKeith, who is going to be saying a few words about the general strike. He's reading out a talk by Peter Cann, one of our organisers, who unfortunately is unable to be here today because he was been taken ill. I hand over to Bill.
Yeah, greetings to this very important rally on the centenary of the general strike. This year marks the centenary of the general strike. It is the only time in British history that the whole trade union movement has come out on strike. And Oxford played no small part in this. The strike began on the 4th of May, 1926, when the TUC, Trades Union Congress, representing all trade unions, called out more than 3 million workers in support of the miners. already on starvation wages, who were locked out and faced a further pay cut and increases in hours. The leader of the miners, A.J. Cook, stood firm and said, "Not a penny off the pay, not a minute on the day." In the first phase of the strike, 1,700,000 workers, railwaymen, busmen, dockers, printers, power station workers and post workers responded magnificently, including in this city. Oxford train stations, then there were two, came to a standstill on day one. They were joined by more than 500 printers at Oxford University Press who walked out, as did building workers. Here, as around the country, they were organised by a council of action based on trades councils. You can see Oxford Trades Council's banner here. But the TUC, the leaders of the trade unions, fearing revolution, tried to curb the influence of the councils of action. The Tory government under Stanley Baldwin had prepared months in advance and called for volunteers through the Organisation for the Maintenance of Supplies. Behind that stood the troops, the tanks, the mounted police, even warships, all the forces of the state, some of which were used brutally against men and women. As is well known, Oxford University students blacklead to drive buses and offload ships. Shame. Indeed, as many as 2,000 did scab, yet within the university there was support for the strike. This came from the University Labour Club, Ruskin College, the Workers' College was prominent. Students and teachers, Dons in particular, G.D.H. Cole and his wife Margaret, a historian, seen here on the wonderful new banner, were very active. They helped organise large rallies in St Giles, issue a strike bulletin and raise money for the strikers without strike pay and for the starving miners. The TUC, the Trades Union Congress leadership, they were desperate to call off the strike. And on the 9th day, to the astonishment and anger of millions of workers, the TUC called it off. This was despite millions more joining the strike. The numbers on strike were increasing when the strike was called off. The capitulation has gone down as the greatest betrayal in working class history in the UK. Afterwards, strikers were victimised and the miners were left to fight alone, and eventually they were starved back to work. We've heard that story before. We say, never again. Hold your leaders to account. If you want to see how the general strike unfolded in this city, please come and see a performance of the general strike in Oxford at the Museum of Oxford on Saturday, May the 16th. Saturday, May the 16th. You can book a seat for this play about the general strike in Oxford and what happened. And there will also be a performance of the miners' strike in Oxford, about solidarity in Oxford with the miners in the 1984 to 85 strike. Thank you.
May Day is not just a date in the calendar, it is a date that is written in struggle. From the Haymarket Affair in 1886 in Chicago, which set about an International Workers' Day that we're here to celebrate today. But look, there will be people not taking too much notice of what we're saying today. But what we need to do is send that message out about what trade unions have done and the struggle they have faced historically, from the Brunswick dispute, from the Wapping dispute, to the Tolpuddle martyrs, to what the phlebotomists have done in the southwest recently, to the Birmingham Binwick workers who took 15 months of strike action. And they took strike action because they were unwilling to stand aside and let the bosses take advantage of them. Because that's what the bosses have always done. And it has only ever been trade unionists that have stood back and fought back through struggle, through sacrifice, and that is exactly what firefighters in Oxfordshire have done over the last 6 months. Proposals put forward by a county council to close fire stations, to cut fire engines from our communities, to sack 42 people from the fire and rescue service. Well, they were going to do that, but firefighters said no. Firefighters said no, not just because it was an attack on them, because it was an attack on every single worker. Because any worker that calls 999, any worker that calls on the fire service is in need of the fire service to attend and protect them. That was a ballot of industrial action, to protect everyone's safety. So look, that's what trade unions stand for. We have always fought back against people like Nigel Farage, who protect the billionaire class, who protect the elite. Well, it is workers that need representing in this country. For too long, billionaires have made more wealth on the back of COVID, and workers have been tied to tighten their belts. Whether you work in a shop, factory, fire station or school, it is trade unions that will stand up. So if you're not involved in a trade union, well, join one. If you are in a trade union, become a rep, become active, and start pushing back against the bosses, the employers that try to strip away our rights. So look, on International Workers' Day, let's send that message back to the bosses, back to the employers, back to people that don't want to necessarily listen today, and make sure that we are the voice of working people in this country. There is a class struggle right now, and we need to make sure that we're on the right side of it. Thank you, and solidarity.
Starmer's government has offered a derisory 6.5% pay increase to teachers over 3 years, which the government is not going to fund. An unfunded pay rise means that there have to be cuts in all the rest of the education service and in schools. The other aspect of our union that I'm very proud to be associated with is the fight against racism. Our current General Secretary, Daniel Kebede, and our previous General Secretary, Kevin Courtney, have been very prominent in the campaign against reform and in the campaign against Tommy Robinson and the far right. And I'm so proud that our union has put itself in the forefront of that struggle. And to carry on that struggle, we are supporting the mobilisation on May the 16th, and we urge everybody to get to London to demonstrate against Farage, to demonstrate against Tommy Robinson, and to let them know that the working class of this country, the trade unionists of this country, are anti-racist and want to show solidarity with refugees and want to show our solidarity with workers' struggle internationally. Thank you.
Thank you. Mohammed is well known to many of us here in Oxford. He lives in Ramallah in Palestine and is head of international relations for the Federation of Independent Unions in Palestine. And I'm going to read out an extract of a statement that was sent to us by him. On May the 1st, International Workers' Day, the General Federation of Palestinian Workers extends its highest greetings and deepest appreciation to the Palestinian working class at home and in the diaspora, and to the Arab and international working classes. A salute filled with dignity, and pride, infused with the sweat, blood and suffering of workers, the true heroes in building and safeguarding nations. They are the strong arms that never yield or compromise, who have stood firm in the face of greedy capitalism and the tyranny of oppressive regimes, confronting exploitation and the monopolization of their nation's wealth with free will and unwavering determination. This year's May Day comes as our people in Gaza endure a brutal war of annihilation waged by the Israeli occupation, alongside, yes, shame, alongside ongoing aggression in the West Bank and Jerusalem. In this tragic context, our working class across all parts of Palestine continues to demonstrate steadfastness despite the hard conditions imposed by war and destruction. With rising unemployment, deepening poverty, and the suffocating blockade on Gaza, Palestinian workers are deprived of their most basic rights to work and a dignified life. Many are forced to risk their lives to provide for their families, fully aware that their fate may be arrest, torture, or martyrdom. While the world celebrates workers' achievements, the Palestinian worker remains locked in a daily struggle for survival under occupation. Economic opportunities for Palestinians are nearly non-existent, and the pressures facing Palestinian workers continue to escalate, making each day a new challenge to preserve their dignity and livelihood. We, in the General Federation of Palestinian Workers, we raise our voice loudly, calling on the international Arab and global communities to assume their responsibilities towards Palestine and its people, and to provide full support to the Palestinian working class. This suffering cannot continue, especially amid the decline in essential services, particularly those provided by UNRWA, which are witnessing serious deterioration and directly affecting the lives of Palestinians in refugee camps and across the diaspora. We salute the international working class that stands in solidarity with our Palestinian cause in our national and social struggle, and we call on all free forces around the world to stand with us. We call for holding the leaders of occupation accountable before the International Criminal Court for the crimes committed against our Palestinian people. We demand international protection that guarantees our people's right to a dignified life and supports their ongoing struggle to end the occupation and establish our independent Palestine state with Jerusalem as its capital. We stand with you in your ongoing struggle for a dignified life, and we'll continue to fight until all your rights are achieved. We will not rest until every Palestinian worker attains the life they deserve, one of dignity, free from oppression and occupation. Freedom for Palestinian workers, liberation for Palestine, dignity for humanity. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine.
Thank you. I'm Rob. I'm from the University of Oxford University and College Union branch. We represent academic and academic-related staff at higher education and further education institutions across the country. We've got about 120,000 members, 2,000 of them here at the University of Oxford. We are campaigning on various issues, both within the university and more widely across the country. Many of our colleagues in other universities are currently facing unprecedented attacks on their workers' rights, on their employment status, on pension rights. There are universities who are trying to change all of their academic contracts to be employed by sham subsidiary companies so that they can reduce their pension rights and remove job security from these people under what's basically a hire and fire arrangement which the current government has pledged to outlaw, but sadly hasn't yet managed to do so in its entirety. We are campaigning also locally on individual basis to protect people who are at threat of redundancy or job insecurity. There is a huge insecurity crisis within higher education due to funding issues both at undergraduate and postgraduate level, and we are constantly fighting with our comrades in the UCU and beyond to bring more job security to the higher education sector. If you work for the university, join us. If you work exclusively for a college at Oxford, you do not have union recognition. So lobby your head of house for union recognition at every opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who here is a renter? Doesn't sound like many of you, actually. Who here has ever rented with mouldy homes? So who's had mould in their home? Most of us, right? Who here has asked for repairs time and time again and not even had a reply from their estate agent? Me. Who here thinks the rent is too damn high and it keeps going up? Me. Well, luckily things are changing. Yes, it's International Workers' Day today. Yesterday. But yesterday was also the advent of the Renters' Rights Act coming into effect, which is really exciting for us as a union. It means an end to Section 21 no-fault evictions. You can no longer be kicked out of your home for asking time and time again for repairs that just don't happen. We're going to be launching a campaign which is in tandem with the Renters' Rights Act coming into effect. We see this as a springboard to resist rent increases. Previously, you could be asked for your rent to be increased, and you could say no, but you run the risk of facing a Section 21 no-fault eviction. That threat is no longer present, which means that we have a key opportunity to push back and just say no. We're going to be launching a campaign which we ask you to pledge to join. You can sign up by scanning a QR code on one of our placards. We're going to be saying no to rent increases. We're going to be taking our rent increases to the first-tier tribunal, and we're hoping to flood the tribunal. If enough of us say, no, I reject that rent increase and I want to dispute it, then we flood that tribunal and we have a lower rent for longer. It's essentially a rent freeze from below. That means that usually if you went to the tribunal, you'd be looking at 10 weeks for them to look at your claim. Your rent may rise after that, but that's 10 weeks of lower rent. And the more of us that do it, the longer it will take, the lower the rent stays. Private rents across England have risen by almost a third since the pandemic. In Oxford, the average monthly rent increased by a staggering 11.5% in the 12 months to July 2025. My rent in my previous home was meant to be raised by 22.5%. At that point, I had to leave, but we don't have to just leave now. We can say no. It's time to fight back. We say enough is enough, so come and chat with us after, look out for our events, and join Oxford Renters Union today. Thank you.
Hi all, I'm Paula. I'm chair of the steering group of Strike Map. And for those who haven't heard of us, we are a group of trade unionists across the country and across workplace industries that come together to map industrial action across Britain and Ireland. I'm speaking today about the bin strike in my hometown of Birmingham, where striking workers led one of the most notable and longest disputes in current times, including 15 months of all-out strike action. This dispute cuts to the heart of working class struggle today, and the Birmingham bin workers have been an inspiration to our entire movement, standing firm and pushing back against Birmingham City Council. To remind you of the reason for the dispute, the Labour-led council targeted these bin workers' existing salaries, attempting to cut pay by £8,000. This was never about a pay rise. It was about maintaining workers' existing wages. This is the same council that has doubled its spending on agency staff since the strike began, and the same council that awarded its councillors a 5.7% pay rise back in January 2025. The council imposed 2 injunctions on union members: Unite the Union, Strike Map, and people organising in solidarity with the bin workers, threatening them with arrest. This shows the nature of the capitalist state, using anti-union laws to stop workers, and demonstrates why solidarity actions are so important. The first injunction was for Unite members and staff, which is why Strike Map independently came in to support the strikers with the mega pickets. And the second injunction was with the persons unknown involved with mega pickets, that any further attempts to block or obstruct vehicles could face imprisonment for up to 2 years, have their assets seized, or be fined. That's a Labour-led council for you, comrades. At Strike Map, we're proud of the supportive role we have played, donating funds to the bin workers, organising mega pickets, and turning up to the picket lines at 6 a.m. to show our solidarity. As a result, we shut every site down and prevented scab trucks from leaving the depot. So it's important to note that the agency staff employed by Job and Talent were brought in by Birmingham City Council to scab on the striking bin workers. But even they joined the strike in November 2025. and have since stood shoulder to shoulder with the bin workers as well. I want to thank our Oxford delegation in particular, who visited every mega picket, setting off at 5 a.m, and to Steve Wright, who spoke at the mega picket and has been a huge support in this dispute, and to Oxford and District Trades Council and local branches funding our transport to make it happen. This victory reminds us of a vital truth. When our movement acts together in solidarity with striking workers, standing with one another across unions and sectors, the power of the working class is unstoppable. An improved offer is now on the table. After the council previously said it couldn't be done, it has been done. All power to the bin workers. And we don't know what this offer is. We don't know whether the members will accept it, but it is a step in the right direction. So I want to leave with this. We cannot ignore the political context of this dispute. This was done under a Labour-run Birmingham City Council under a Labour government. We had general secretaries across different unions speaking at these mega pickets and showing their support. But we also had political party leaders speaking at the mega pickets, standing in solidarity with striking workers, including Zach Polanski from the Greens, Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana from your party. With the local elections next week, it is important to look at which political parties have been standing with striking workers, which political leaders have come to show support to the bin workers at the mega pickets, and crucially, which political leaders have not. Keep that in mind when you vote next Thursday. So when I say union, you say power. Union! Power. Union! Power. When I